Welcome to Ploughman's Backyard. My name is Kendra, and today I'm just going over what we use in our brooder for our chicks, because our chicks are about to hatch any day now, and I thought it was a great time to go through what we put in our brooder, what we use. So I'm just going to cover what we use here on our homestead and what we found that really works well. So first thing is, I'm going to start by talking about once your chicks hatch out of your incubator, they can actually stay in their incubator for about 24 hours, maybe even a little bit longer, because you want them, for one, to come out fully dry, fluffed out. You don't want them to be damp and wet when you put them into your brooder. So make sure they're good and dry before you take them out of your incubator, as well as your chicks are in the incubator, they're actually eating all of the stuff that's inside the eggs. They're eating that, so you don't have to worry about them starving when they're coming out. And it might even take them a little bit, a few hours after you take them out, maybe even a half a day, to even start eating the food that you're going to give them. So maybe that's a good place to start. So what do we feed our chicks, day-old chicks, once they're in our brooder? Basically, I like to purchase medicated chick starter, and that's completely up to you what you want to do. I know there's people out there who don't want the medicated chick starter, and there's people that do. I have found through trial and error, just for myself, the years that we use the medicated chick starter, our chicks, and as they're growing up into adulthood, they tend to do really well and survive well. And the years that we hadn't used the medicated chick starter, we actually ended up with our chicks dying a little later on, about the 12 to 20 week mark. So that just indicated to me that the best method for us here was to use the medicated chick starter. There's not really any difference in cost. They're just getting some medicine in their food that's going to help them with things like coccidiosis that can be an issue once you introduce your chicks into your adult flock. Basically, it's building up the immune system for the chick. Once it gets out into the real world, they're going to pick up different diseases and different things from the ground in which they live and the birds that come in contact with them outside. The other thing you can do is, if you don't want to buy the medicated chick starter, you could go ahead and buy this amprolium solution. So basically, this right here that I have, it's a fluid, and you're adding it to your water, and it basically takes the place of the medicated starter anyways, but a bottle like this will do you for quite a long time, and it's about $40. The other thing you can do is you can do like injections, get them vaccinated. But this is a great alternative if you didn't want to do either of those things. It's good to have on hand for those times, because once things get really going in the spring, you may not be able to come across the medicated chick starter. Sometimes it can be hard to find. So this is a great backup solution to have on hand. So I always start off my chicks with the medicated starter, and I usually feed that and then move on later on. Once I'm basically, a bag will do my flock, and once I'm done that bag, then I end up moving up to a chick grower. So you want to start them on a chick starter and then move them up to a chick grower before you move them on to like a laying mash or laying pellets or whatever you choose to feed your chickens. The chick grower just helps the chicken to grow at a decent rate, maybe even a faster rate. I have, when we've had broody hens, I have not had the grower at times, and it's just made the birds a little bit more stunted in their growth, but they do end up catching up eventually. The other thing is, once your chicks get in the brooder, you need to have water readily available. So our water, we always add vitamins to our water, and that is something that I highly recommend doing. There's no harm in adding some vitamins to the water. And we picked up a bag, I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago, and we are probably just going to be finishing it up this year. You can pick this up at your local farm store. Basically, it just has all the vitamins that your chickens will need for laying hens, broilers, and turkeys. Vitamins A's, D's, E's, B's, folic acid, biotin, riboflavin, thiamine, all the vitamins are going to be in here. And basically, I do up a jug of about 4 liters of water for our chicks using this powdered mixture. And we just add it to the 4-liter bottle of water. And once that 4-liter bottle of water is complete, that's kind of the run of the course of the vitamin water. That's about as much time as you're going to probably need to have your chicks drinking from the vitamin water. And then you can just move them on to regular drinking water. So a bag like this goes for about $6 or $7. If you don't find this exact one, because they don't always carry that one, You can move on to a bag, something like this, which is the exact same thing. Again, that's about $7 or $8 for this bag, and it'll probably do you for about 4 to 5 years, depending on how many chicks you are raising at a time. We tend to do anywhere from 5 to 20 at a time, and like I said, this bag here has lasted us quite a long time. So just having these things on hand is a good idea, and maybe even getting them in the fall or summer when you can get them so that they're ready for spring. So the next thing when we're talking about water is something that I always do is we have a bag of marbles, something shiny that will attract your chicks. I don't know why, but chickens love shiny things. But we went ahead and just went to the dollar store and bought some marbles, and we use these year after year. So the thought is, because they're not naturally going to go to the water, you're wanting something to attract them to the water, but also a chick can actually drown in very little bit of water. So having the marbles in there just prevents them from getting their head in the water and actually drowning as well. So when you get your chicks out of the incubator and you bring them into the brooder, I suggest taking that chick and just dunking their beak a little bit in the water so that they know where the water is. And you'll know that they got a little bit of a taste of the water because they will probably be opening their beak and licking or shaking their head, and you'll know that they got water and that they know where the water source is. So that's one other thing that we like to do. So what we use for our water are these little water container holders. They're plastic. You can pick these up almost anywhere at a feed store, maybe your PV Mart. They're just about everywhere, maybe even like a Princess Auto or something. These generally, at the time when I got them, went for about $2 to $3. They might be a little bit more now, but I usually have a few of these on hand. And basically this is what you get for about $2 to $3. Then you can get these. They fit on the water container itself. And these again are about $2 to $3, maybe even about $4 by now because we got them a few years ago. And all these do is you fill up your water and you put this on. And it's got a little screw lock area here. And you're just gonna put it on just like that. And that's your little water container for your chicks. And then we'll go ahead and we will put the marbles in here, and they'll be able to drink between the holes of the marbles and they won't be able to drown in the water. So if you don't want to go ahead and spend maybe, $8, $10 for this whole thing, you really only need to have this part. If you have mason jars, you can save a little bit of money because the mason jars actually fit on this really well. I'll just show you. It takes just a regular standard size mouth mason jar and it fits on quite nice. You can have a larger container if you want, or you can go with the little 100 milliliter jar like this one. But it's good to have a few of them on hand so you can wash them as you use them. The next thing is we're going to talk about food. So we've already discussed, you have to figure out which kind of food you're wanting to buy, whether you're wanting the medicated or the non-medicated chick starter. And basically I like starting with this little feeder. Again, you might spend about $4 to $5 on this. It's really one piece, but that's how it comes off because I like to wash them before I use them. So anytime that you're reusing your stuff from last year, make sure you wash your stuff really well so you're not spreading disease from one year to the next to your chicks. This is what we usually start out with. Again, these little containers that go with the water also fit really well in here, and you can use this for your feeder for your chicks also. So these are multi-use between the two, whether you're using a water or a feeder, or again, you can use a mason jar for the feeder as well. So this little feeder is actually really great for the first couple of days to maybe even a couple of weeks. Then what I do is I actually upgrade because they end up going through this quite a bit as they're growing. And then I upgrade to a larger feeder. Now these are a little bit more money. I want to say that this one's probably about $9. And then you've got your metal one, which is probably more about $12. So I'm just going to tell you what I like about each and what I don't like about each. So first off, our first years, I went ahead and I got the metal one just because I really like to try and stay away from plastic no matter what. So basically with this one, it's just you slide it and it slides open. And you would fill up your feed in here, and then you would just shut it up like that, and the chicks would just eat through here. Really simple, easy. The one thing that I really didn't like about this is that it will get coated in chicken poo. Everything that you see here will be coated in chicken poo. You can't get away from that. But what I didn't like is because sometimes these edges are a bit sharp and your chickens will be pooing on it. I don't like that aspect of it. It can be a little bit hard to pull as well, especially when it's coated in like chicken poo and stuff like that. To me, it just raises an increase in cutting myself and getting some bacteria and stuff in my skin. So now I've learned that this is just not the one that I like to use. So we don't use it anymore unless I just need a backup. It's also a little bit more difficult to clean, but it's not much different in cost from this one. Now, the reason why I really like this one, like I said, I typically try and stay away from plastic, but I love this one because all you do is just got some little locks there and you open it up and you feed just through here and you close it up. It's really simple to use. There's no risk of cutting myself with the metal poopy thing. This thing is plastic, there's no sharp edges, and it's really easy to open, clean, and feed your chicks. And it's just a couple dollars even less than the metal one. So I do recommend this one over the metal one. That's just my own preference. Now, when we're talking about water, I forgot to mention there are other types of watering devices or ways of watering your chickens. I've tried in the past using the nipples in watering and giving water to my adult birds, and they've never taken to it. They always just prefer using a bucket or a container. But if you're wanting to start them off doing nipples or something like that, then start them off when they're young in doing that. I went ahead and I picked up they're called drinking cups. And you can get these. These were actually from the feed store, and I got 2 in this pack for $9.95. If you go online and you check on Amazon, you can actually get 25 pieces for about $25, which is much more up our alley. And these also are cups, and they have these little spots here where the chickens can peck at, and it just allows the water to drip into the cup. These, I think, would be a greater option because you will find that no matter what, you are not going to keep your chicken water clean. So these are a really great option for keeping your water clean for your chicks, and also the adult birds can use these as well. The only thing is that you're going to need to probably have a bucket and just make your own little watering container and put these on. As you can see, I haven't used these yet, so I can't give you a recommendation if I like them or not. But the fact is, when you have chickens, it's a really hard thing to keep their water clean for very long. So this is just another option if you're wanting to try and keep their water a lot cleaner for a lot longer. That's something that you're going to find raising chicks. It is a messy business. There is no way around it. Things get covered in poo, their water gets covered in poo, and they love to spill their food. Anyway, so those are another option if you're looking for a cleaner way of keeping your water. You just might need to rig something up yourself using these little watering cups. On day 1, when I have my chicks out and I bring them into my brooder that you can see here, my husband made it. It's just a Rubbermaid container, a very large one, and my husband just made a lid to go on it because the chickens eventually will try and fly out, but we also have a cat that likes to try and get in. So he's made it quite durable that the cat can sit on here, watch the chicks without actually hurting them. The first thing that I like to do is I go out and I get these little puppy pads from the dollar store. They're about $4 or $4.50. Usually I do this for about maybe 5 to 6 days or to a week, is to have these puppy pads just on the bottom of my brooder. For one, I like to keep their feet really clean. It can be very difficult to keep the chicks' feet from getting poo stuck to them. And sometimes they can get so caked up that they actually hurts the bottom of their feet. So I found this is the best method of making sure that the chicks' feet actually remain as clean as possible. And I'm able to pick them up and check them quite regularly, as well as I can change the pads really easily. Just fold them back and put another layer down. Eventually you do have to move up to either like a hemp bedding or a wood chip bedding. So that's going to be up to you what you want to do. I do recommend the hemp bedding. It is a lot easier to use. It is more expensive than the wood chips, but it creates a lot less dust than the wood chips. I just really love the hemp bedding. But in a pinch, the wood chips is usually what I go for because it's more readily available in our area, but it's also a lot cheaper, more economical. The only thing is if you're having chicks indoors like we do, it creates a lot of dust. You'll find that out very quickly. So We go about a week of using these puppy pads, just making sure that their feet are clean, and then we move on to either our shavings or our hemp bedding. So the next thing we'll talk about is keeping our chicks warm. Basically, I've done both methods. We have tried using the heat lamp. It works really well. I tend to get a little bit more nervous with a heat lamp because of you don't want to have a fire or anything like that. To me, they're just like a high risk thing that I don't want in my house. The other thing is you really need to keep track how hot the brooder can get. You'll notice that the chicks will just stay under the heat lamp and won't actually go to their food because they want to keep as warm as possible. And keeping the temperature regulated, you're constantly having to move the heat lamp up and down to make sure that the chicks aren't getting too hot or too cold. So that made us move on to a heat plate, which I highly, highly recommend. If you do not have one, this is the way to go. So this is a Titan heat plate. We've had it for 3-4 years now. It is a lot less on electricity bill, so it's definitely more economical. A little bit more of an upfront cost, maybe around $100 just to get you started. But the thing that I like about it is that it's adjustable. So on week 1, your heat plate will be a certain height, and every week you raise it up a little bit higher. The nice thing is the chicks are under it, they keep warm, and as soon as they go away from it to get their water, their feed, or just to walk around, they're not so used to being so hot, because sometimes with the heat lamp, they'll just be so hot that they won't want to move. They'll just be lethargic. There's not any issues with them being too lethargic with the heat plate because it's just a direct heat underneath. I've noticed a big difference between a heat lamp and a heat plate just by how your chickens are able to run around freely and just enjoy being chickens. So this is a heat plate here. I'll show you how easy it is to set up. Just got 4 legs. And they will use this as a perch, so you will need to clean it quite a bit because like I said before, chicken poo is a real thing when you've got little chicks in the house. And there's no way around it. It's going to be smelly. You can't get around that. Chicks stink. So keeping them clean is a daily, if not more than daily job. So basically, here's your heat plate here, and this is what's going to be keeping them warm. And you'll have a little indication light that the heat plate is on, and it's so easy. Just gonna put this in here, put the little things up like that. Sorry, it's a little bit loud. So week 1, there's actually numbers on here. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you're just gonna put it on number 1 because it's week 1. So this goes by weeks. And so by the 5th week, when you have gotten to the 5th mark, or the 5th number on your heat plate, then you know that you can actually just remove the heat plate. They don't need it anymore after that time. So the guesswork is gone with that. You just want to make sure it's even all the way around. And your chicks, they'll just go in under there and get warm as they need to. So get in there, they'll cuddle all around, keep warm, and then come out and grab their food and water, or just kind of play around like they do. Eventually they will start perching on this. And so like I said, every week you're going to be moving it up a notch and notch and notch until you have got it up to the last ring, and then you'll take it out on the 6th week. Now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to show you how I put everything in here, how I set up for the chicks, because they'll be coming in a couple days. So basically my husband just made this out of some wood and some hardware cloth. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring you down, and I'm going to show you exactly how I set this up for our new chicks when they get here. So basically you want to make sure that you have a large enough area for your chicks to be in. You don't want it too small and confined, because as they grow, they're just going to need more space. So this is just a great size for the first few weeks of the chicks' lives. I'm going to start off by putting in a few of the puppy pads. Basically, we're just going to do that. They're a little big, but they do the job well. And then we just get the second one down. Now what I do really like about this is once they mess it all up with water and poo, because they're gonna spill, is I just pull this out, put another one down. And they won't slip on this, so they're not going to have to worry about their legs getting hurt. The next thing I would put in is my heat plate. So that I will set up right here. I know it looks so little, but they're tiny when they first come out. So this is how that goes out, just like that. And they're able to get under there. There's a lot of room. There's a bit of a lip here, so once they go under there, they'll be nice and hot. So basically, you're going to want to have the food somewhere close by. I'm going to stick it over here. That's typically what I do, just to make them have to get out and walk a little bit. Generally, the first day, once they come out, I'll actually sprinkle some of the medicated chick starter on the ground, just so they can get used to having, seeing what the smell and of the food is, and it will lure them over to here where they're going to find their feed. You can choose to leave that undone, or you can go ahead and put on the jug here or a mason jar to keep the feed in. Usually for the water, I usually put the water just a little bit closer, just because I do want to make sure that they are getting their water, that they have their water available to them. So then the water is going to go there. And then all I do, once the water's in there and you've got your vitamin water in here, that's when I go ahead and then I'm adding a bunch of these marbles. I'm just going to go ahead. So this should be what your water should typically look like. If you put, I'm not going to put water in it at the moment. That's kind of, they can just drink in between and they're not going to fall asleep and drown in their water. And that is really all I do to set up our chicken brooder for when our chicks finally arrive. Well, thank you for joining us once again here at Ploughman's Backyard for another chick video. Check out our other chick videos that we have on incubation, as well as broody hens, chicken vlogs. We have it all if you're into it. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do, and hit the notification bell so you can be sure not to miss out on the arrival of our newborn chicks.